So hi there. I'm going to do a little demo here to show some of the scripting basics in Facebook Horizon. Um, so what I want to do is to try to make the most of this time and um, get into some of the, um, I guess I don't know if you'd call it more complex scripting, but to show kind of the basic scripting you would need to make a game. So we're going to do a timer and going to do some basic interactions around that. And hopefully this will be a little fun exercise. Um, I have a feeling that Facebook is about to release a lot of official videos, and that'll be great. So maybe this will just provide, when those hit, this will still be of value to provide some reference for things. So let's get started. Of course, I've come in now. I'm not going to assume that the viewer here knows much about this, but this is what you come into when you want to build a new Horizon world, big empty space, and you can move around the space as you would any Horizon world. You'll notice in your controller, your right controller, if you move the D-pad down, you're going to go into build mode, and now you're up here. And just to give a quick overview of how this works, menu on the left and right hand, um, and hand is to grab. This is the default settings. This menu changes context depending on what you're doing in the world, but by default, grab, duplicate, lock, and paint. And then on the left here, you click left to undo, right to redo. Preview, of course, takes you back into the VR, back into first-person perspective as if you were in the world as a user. And then the menu button brings up our menu. So some basics of how I get around to do. If I want to get to a certain location, I will do kind of like a swim where I'll put both hands out and pull. You can do a kind of a circular motion as if you're turning a steering wheel to turn around. There you see the spawn point. There's only one in here right now. Pull in, pull out. Pretty basic stuff. So let's get started. What I want to do is create let's go back here to where my character is, my spawn point, I mean. I'm going to create some points on the ground that when I step on, things happen. And what I'm thinking about doing here is just a really basic kind of Simon Says kind of thing, but with points you have to hit on the ground. And I think that's too many. I'm going to delete this. Okay. Yeah. So to keep this really basic, we're going to have 3 points. And actually, what I want to do, let me do this a little different. We'll start out. Okay, here's point 1. We're going to make that one red. I'm going to grab. Once it's selected, duplicate. And what you can do with duplicate selected, you can just grab and pull. And you have another copy. And I'm kind of loosely using the grid system here to, no, that's not working. Sometimes you have to hold the trigger down, touch, and then there we go. So we might run into a few bugs here. Hopefully we don't. I've been running into a lot of bugs as I've been scripting, and I hope they get some of that stuff worked out before release, because this Horizon is such an amazing tool and experience otherwise. So red, blue, and green. We've got our primaries. And now Let's see. I want to build a little timer object. Oops, just duplicate it. Sometimes you'll accidentally duplicate. I just grab, delete. That is really big. That's okay. Make the base black and actually make the base dark gray. Make this black. Let's go to our gizmos. Gizmos give you a lot of neat things. I wish there were more of them, but you have particle effects, trail effects, ability to record a little audio clip, of course, create more spawn points, doorways to other worlds that you've created. I really wish you could link to other things, but they have to be your creations. Environment we'll play with in a minute. A lot of the modeling stuff, there's so many great videos. I'm really trying to focus on scripting with this. But but I will get into a little bit of that stuff. Let's see. Some basic text. So this is going to be a countdown timer. I'm going to start it at 60. Okay. See if we can get it to. Okay, there we go. Close enough. Yep. Okay. So what can I do? Okay, so how about this? What we'll do is we'll make it where for this video, whenever you step on um, one of these points, we'll change the text color to the color of the point. I think that I want to do a kind of a series because this stuff can get very tedious and long. So we'll start with that. And the next video, we'll get into making this a timer and adding some more interactivity, ending up with a game where we have two sets of these and a randomized instead of a time. Well, in addition to a timer, we'll have a board that shows the color the player should be stepping into at that given time, and we'll have a score and all that stuff. So, but just for this one, we're going to show you the basics of how when something's interacted with, you can control something else that's happening. And so I need a script block. And let's name this change color. The way this is set up, it can be applied to any object, as I'm going to show you in a second here. So I think that naming is appropriate. Yeah, so we will say variable color variable. I'm going to call it T color as a target color. I know this can be kind of difficult to see, so let's try to bring it. Okay, so when user steps on a point, let's step out of this for a second. I need a trigger. And I'm going to duplicate this on the other objects, but let's get started with this. So trigger on players. We're going to enable it. And as with any property of an object, you can attach a script, which is what we're going to do. And so with my script, let's go bring that window back up. Yeah. we'll just do this because that's the order that you end up doing a lot of kind of swimming and organization of windows. And I have some ideas of how I hope they improve that, but we'll see. Yeah, so a script object doesn't actually belong to anything specific. It can be referenced by multiple objects, and so like I created. I guess I should go through this list of things real quick. So events or when things happen. Um, I'm not going to go through all of them, but the basic idea would be some obvious ones, I should say, are like when trigger is entered by object. So that would be like when a collision happens between a well, colliders are something different, but they're very similar. So whenever one object intersects with the trigger, this event will fire off, and then it'll begin to do whatever conditioning logic we blocks that we add in here. Okay, so in this case, when trigger is entered by player is going to be our starting point. When world started is put up there by default, you want to take that and get rid of it. In this case, um, so when trigger is entered by player is with player is received, we're going to do something. Okay, what that something is going to be to change a text color. So I have the color defined. Now I need to add an object reference because the text here is going to be my object that I want to be able to target, right? So these are our variable types. There's not a lot of them. I wish there were more. The thing to know about this is if you don't see what you're looking for on this list, it's object. So I don't see. So when I look at this, the first thought would be, well, where's the text? There should be a text, because that's a type. Well, it's object kind of fills in for the things that aren't specifically defined. So I'm going to do type object. We're going to call it T target. Yep, T target because it's going to be text target. Um, and I'm going to say, where else I'm looking for? We are going to change the color of the text in this case. So it's going to be paint object. And on, so you can see it fills in these default, by default, there's a color here, which is, if you don't know the color form, if you've not worked with HTML before, or it's not just that standard, but the standard here is there's three different numeric values. What these are the RGB values of a color. So you have red, green, and blue represented, and those can go from 000 to 255, 255, 255, and so the combination gives you the blend of the RGB spectrum to give you whatever color you're looking for. There's plenty of lookup tables online. If you do HTML color mapping, you'll find some examples, and a lot of times they'll be in hexadecimal format. You want to just convert them to decimal. Um, I don't have a good one offhand, but there's a lot of things out there that help with that. But the idea 000 would be a black, and then 255, 255, 255 would be white. So in this case, actually, I don't know why I did that. In this case, I'm using a variable for my color. That's why I define a variable here. It lets you, if I were to assign a color right here instead of using a variable, then anything that referenced this script, because I can reference this script to multiple objects in my world, anything would be forced to use that. But by setting this as a variable, it's going to let me control it. So before I do this, and I hope this won't break, invalid. Yeah, it's not happy with that. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Yeah. And so if let me take my script here. If I go to attach script and I select change color, see, if I select that, look, there's my variables. These are the two variables that I assigned here. And so I can now assign them. Okay. They're not going to be assigned here. They're going to be assigned on the object that is attaching the script. And it's just because this is referencing this script. Okay. It's probably really confusing to people who haven't done development before, but it's a pretty common paradigm actually. So, all right. So now on this for my triggers instance of this script, in this case, it's the green circle that they're going to step on. So I want to do. Remember, this is red, green, and blue. What I'm going to do is set the green value to max. Okay. It's happy with that. And we need a target. So for a target, we move this over. I'm going to go to the properties. I'm going to the properties on my text object. Here we go. And that's not named well. I know that. I'm okay with that right now. Take this little reference chord right here, and I'm going to drag this to target. Now I have a reference. Okay, so now what's going to happen? Let's go back here. Remember, when the trigger is entered with the player, we're going to paint color with color. I'm going to take my variable that I defined here. I'm going to place it right here. And you can see that fills in. Okay, on self. Well, we're going to do on target. Okay. All right, so now it's all wired up. What I expect would happen when I step on the green circle, my numeral 60 is going to turn green. Easy enough. I'm going to close these real quick, and let's see what happens. Yep. Okay, cool. So it turned green. If I go to the others, of course, nothing happens because I don't have them wired up yet. All right, but I have a script here that could be applied to any of these three, right? Because I don't have anything hard defined in here. Again, whatever references the script has control of these variables. So this is a generic thing that we could apply really to anything where any instance in this world where we want to have it where the player enters a trigger, something else needs to change color. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate my trigger, and not the object, just the trigger. And I don't have any group here, so this should be fine. Okay, there we go. And there we go. So 3 triggers. And let me pull up the property sheet and look at that. So what's happened now is that the script reference for change color was retained when I duplicated the trigger. But unfortunately, of course, it has no way of knowing that this is blue and this is orange. Or red. I'm going to have to define that here. So if I did nothing at all and just wanted to enter the scene, what's going to happen when I step on the red and blue? They're going to turn green. Now you see the text is still green. That's because the scene's still running. And this is something you'll run into often. You're going to want to reset it. That's easy enough. Hit your menu button And you're going to go to debug, hit reset, stop world, play. And our color is back to white, which is as if we had started over again. Okay, so now if I enter the green circle, we know what's going to happen. If I do the blue or the red, we're still going to get green. Yep. So I want to change that. And now I can do that pretty easy. Okay, see what happened was I ended up clicking on the properties of the mesh tube instead of the trigger. So you have to go in and make sure you're looking at the right object if you don't see something to expect. So red, green, blue. We're going to do both of these really quick. Yep, that did not take. Red, green, blue. You have to hit return on the keyboard, on the virtual keyboard. You can't just close it. So return. Now it's there. And then on this one, red. Okay. Reset, stop, play. Back to white text. Now, green, blue, red. Okay, cool. So you can see how that works. If I wanted to have a little more fun with this, thing I could do is I want to add some additional functionality, and I think this would be kind of a fun thing to bring into this example. Here, let's go ahead and reset that so I don't have to do it later. In my script, let's say I want to play a sound whenever I step on the object. So for that, I would go to my menu. I would go to sounds. In the category of sounds, we have background music. We have music background, which can be sound. Usually, is ambient kind of sound effects, and then sound effects are ambient sounds, I should say. These are designed to loop, as is music. Sound effects are kind of more designed to be one-off. So I want some kind of sound whenever the player steps on. Let's see what would be good. What's sound? What is gameplay positive? Nah, I don't like that. Power down. Reset. I know this. That's pretty cool. So I'll pull that in. And I was thinking, what properties do I have on? So what I did, just when you see the red box there, that means I locked it by accident. If you ever do that, hit unlock again, click on it, and you'll see it turn yellow. That means it's unlocked. So it can be a little frustrating. Here we go. Play. I can adjust the pitch. That's really cool. I didn't really know you could do that. So distance is a really cool variable. That'll control, if there's multiple players in this scene, you have to be near this to hear wherever I place the sound cube. And I can specify the range and volume and everything. We're not going to play it on start because if I switch it to global, it would ignore these values. It would just, everyone would hear the sound. But we want it to play only and specifically when the script tells it to. I can preview it. Okay. Fine. So I'm going to go here. Again, we have events. On this one, we have actions. And there's just a move to, I'm not going to go through all of these because there's so many. As I create these script videos, I'm just going to use specific ones, and hopefully you can piece together from there, I think. How to use the others. So I'm looking for play sound. And there we go, play sound. So we've got this script that changes the color. We're also going to bring in play sound. And you can see the indentation. So that just what that means is these two things are happening under this event still. And that's important to know because you could have in a script block, several there's a hierarchy of sorts, and you could have um, a case where you're listening for something else, and then you would have things that happen specifically under that. So under this trigger event, we're going to play sound on self. In order to get a copy of the sound, I'm going to need another variable. Of course, there's no sound here, so it's going to be object type, sound, return, very generic variable name, but I don't really care. If you were doing a bigger scene, you would to avoid confusion, or if you had multiple sounds on this, you would want to give it something more specific in name. But I'm going to bring it in there. Okay, and now I've changed that on this script. This script is referenced by all three of these. So now I'm just going to move my sound. In this case, I am going to make it global. So I don't have to position it in any specific place. And I'm going to take a look at my script. Look, so on my green trigger, yeah, it's waiting for a sound. Move this over here and bring it a reference. Pop. Get this one. You can see the windows can get kind of crazy really quick. And I can drag this reference to sound again. And on this one, yep. All right, now they're all three going to play a sound whenever I click step on them. Let's try this out. Okay, and so that's enough for this demo. I think I provided quite a bit of just general basic stuff. Next, what's going to happen with the next one? My goal is we're going to turn that timer up there. We're going to make it count down from 60 to 0, and we're going to then use a random number generator to have the color of the text change randomly between red, green, and blue. All right, so thanks for watching. See you next time.